Okay, let's be real with each other. Estarossa being Mel was incredibly obvious, but at the same time, you gotta hand it to Nakaba-sensei for handling it so well. Because before this chapter released, there was many different opinions on what was going on and who Estarossa really was, where was Mel, what happened to him. There was just so many different opinions that it made this build-up just worth it in the end, even if it was obvious for the end result. So let's get right into that. So before this chapter released, there were some that were saying that Estarossa was Mel, which that's what we come to find out actually did happen in this chapter. Some were saying that Escanor was Mel, and Estarossa was a poor boy that was just tampered with, and, you know, he had his mind completely messed up just to be able to get Mel out of the picture. And then there was some saying that both of those two individual characters, Escanor and Estarossa, had nothing to do with Mel whatsoever. There was like 3 different opinions. There might be more, but I might be unaware of them. But the point is that before this chapter came out, it wasn't concrete, like, for certain that Estarossa was Mel. It made sense, but at the same time, it still could have easily have been Escanor that could have turned out to be Mel. So, I just want to take a few moments to commend Nakaba-sensei for the great build-up, even if it was obvious as the end result. So anyways, let's get right into the reveal. So, I just want to point out that, you remember the line that Estarossa said, like, 5-8 chapters ago, when he's like, I killed Mel like a dog, or whatever, like he forgot, he's like, I killed Mel like a dog. I'm like, yo, like, that was some savage foreshadowing by Nakaba-sensei. FYI, if you didn't understand the chapter, the little dog in Elizabeth's flashback, I was slightly correct about that, by the way. Like, when I talked about that a few episode reviews ago, or chapter reviews, forgive me. When I talked about that a few chapter reviews ago, I talked about how the dog in Elizabeth's flashback could potentially be Estarossa, because we have seen reincarnation, we have seen people turn into animals and stuff. It's something that has popped up in Taizai time and time again. So I was like, for all we know, the dog could have been Estarossa being envious of Meliodas' relationship with Elizabeth, and it turns out that that's who Estarossa was. Now, I was correct on some parts, but obviously I wasn't entirely correct. I was correct on the fact that the name Estarossa came from the dog. So that, I was like, yo, like, you know, win for me. I was very surprised I actually got that kind of correct. Now, the whole, you know, Estarossa being Mel thing, I wasn't probably the first one to talk about it, so I'm not going to take any credit for that, because that was just floating around in the community for a while, so yeah, I'm not going to even go into that one. But the point stands, though, is that the savage foreshadowing by Nakaba-sensei with the whole dog thing, and you know how Estarossa's like, I killed Mel like a dog, and we come to find out that the name Estarossa came from a dog, and he was making fun of his own self. I'm just like, bro, that's when you roast yourself, when you straight up roast and end yourself with your own dialogue, like, oh my god, like, that's amazing. But okay, anyways, I really love the Fallen Angel theme. It's something that I've been looking forward to ever since, you know, these theories have been popping up about Estarossa being, you know, Mel, or Escanor being Mel. I've always loved Fallen Angels. I don't know, it's just a thing I really like. I know many might not care about that at all, but I've always loved it in stories, mythology, and all that. So seeing how, you know, Mel is the equivalent of a fallen angel is pretty freaking cool. I especially love that final panel where you see how the darkness is starting to fade around him, and you just see how his wings break out of the darkness and stuff, but you still see the black specks all over his wings. It's really cool. And I love how the next chapter title states that fallen angel, like, there's gonna be a fallen angel. So I'm like, huh, like, is it trying to imply, like, is Nakaba-sensei implying that, you know, Mel is not necessarily going to go back to the Goddess Clan or be a good guy, which would make sense. I'll get into that later on in this video, but I especially love the Fallen Angel theme. I've always loved that type of stuff, so seeing how we officially now have, like, a Fallen Angel, that gets me kind of excited, not gonna lie. So, anyways, let's talk about the reveal. So, Gauther, the OG Gauther, he is the one that tampered with everybody's memories and caused this situation going on right now in the manga, which, like I said, that was incredibly obvious. If you've been paying attention to Gauther's character and what he did in the Holy War a long time ago, 3,000 years ago, then it was obvious he did something to Estarossa. We know he had to tamper with him somehow. Even if he didn't turn out to be Mel, we know he had to do something to the man's memories, especially after what the Demon King said a couple chapters back. So, we know he had something to do with the current events. And now, the truth is officially revealed. We come to find out that the power that the OG Gauther used was able to even tamper with the minds of the gods, which explains how he was able to mess with the Demon King and the Supreme, deity, is because of this magic power. Apparently, the OG Galter, he had to sacrifice everything. All of his life force, everything, and even use some of Galter, the doll Galter's life force and energy, just to be able to use this spell, which shows how strong it was, and I think makes perfect sense. And also, it's not that big of like a, I guess, just came out of nowhere, came out of, Nakaba's, behind and all that. Basically, you had it to where this has been set up for a while. It's been established that the OG Galter was scary, and the reason why the Demon King even gave him a commandment was to pretty much imprison him and keep him under control. He gave him the commandment selflessness, but on top of that, he also forced him into, a prison to where he couldn't move at all. So basically, the Demon King was terrified of OG Galter, and he wanted him under wraps, locked up. But that just goes to show how strong he was. So him tampering with someone like, the Demon King or, the Supreme Goddess, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So this entire reveal did not come out of nowhere. Anyone that says, like, it doesn't make sense, obviously didn't actually pay too close attention to when Galter was officially revealed. But here's the thing, though. I want to point out that when everybody was remembering, who Estarossa really was, for instance, being Mel, everybody was doubling down in pain. They were hitting the floor, floating there, just, in pain. They were grabbing their head, they were in pain. And if you look very closely, the people that weren't really acquainted with Estarossa or Mel, they were not experiencing any pain. For instance, if you look at King in this chapter, or Hawk, they were not affected at all. Galter was not affected at all, which shows that this could be a key sign to how Bon and Meliodas are going to get out of purgatory. I don't know how many of you noticed that, but that's probably what's going to happen, because look at this. The characters were in pain, not being able to do much. And if we go along the lines of how powerful the Demon King is and how strong the spell's effect must have been to be able to affect that man, most likely him finally gaining back his memories and remembering everything is going to cause a massive amount of pain. He's probably going to get on his knees hurting, and that's when Bon and Meliodas and, Wild, they're probably going to do a cheap shot on the man, or they're going to rush over and get outside the gate or something to leave back into the real world. One or the other most likely is going to happen because of the way that was done in this chapter. Nakaba wouldn't have made it so obvious with the pain and stuff if it wasn't going to be relevant for what's going on in Purgatory. So this most likely is the ticket for them to get out, and it makes logical sense, because think about it like this. Honestly, if Bon and Meliodas, that's a weakened Meliodas, and Wild were to somehow defeat the Demon King or cripple him, honestly, I don't know if I would like that too much. I mean, I'd understand if Wild did some form of damage because of how long he's been there, and Bon, depending on his abilities and what he learns, maybe he might be able to steal some energy, but even then, though, it wouldn't feel that good, honestly, as a reader of the series, to see Bon, Wild, and Meliodas somehow hurt the Demon King at this point right now, because they're struggling with commandments, archangels. I don't think they're ready to face someone as strong as, like, a god, which is the Demon King, or the Supreme Goddess. I just think there needs to be more time for that. So, I'm glad that Nakaba-sensei seems to be going this route with having it to where the Demon King just cannot move because he's in pain, and they're going to just go around him and, leave Purgatory. But okay, dropping that subject for now, though, let's talk about the situation with Mel and what is going to happen next. So, here's the thing. I know many are probably excited right now that Mel is back in the series, he's not dead, and this really makes things interesting with Estarossa, but the fact is that this doesn't change a whole lot. And what I mean by that is it doesn't change the fact that how Mel felt about his older brother is still there. For instance, when we see the memories going back to what it once was, you see how the scene shows, like how Meliodas, the image of Meliodas shifts over to Rudisill and all that. It's pretty much the exact same thing. It was just copy and pasted over to be Meliodas instead of Rudisill. And when you think about it, it makes more sense that Rudisill would do some crusty stuff instead of Meliodas after what we've seen from his character. So, everything that, Estarossa was expressing in these chapters when he was revealing more about his motives or how he felt, he still feels that towards his brother, Rudisill, because his brother lied to him about Elizabeth, and it's very apparent that he still loves Elizabeth because of the way the memories were coming back to him. But at the same time, I feel like it wasn't Meliodas' fault, it wasn't Elizabeth's fault, it was Rudisill just giving him false hopes and building him up, and then, it never could happen in the first place. So, the feelings that Mel feels towards his brother are still there. They're not gone. But that is kind of a sad thing as well, because when you think about this entire situation, I would understand why Mel would be a bad guy in this situation. I mean, he got both he got destroyed on both ends. Like, you had the Demon Clan mess with his memories, or, OG Galther mess with his memories, and then he was a part of the Demon Clan for a while, and then he was a part of the, the Goddess Clan, and his brother basically betrayed him, as like, screw you and all that, and, made it to where he could never be with Elizabeth. So, when you look at this situation, I don't really think Mel's going to go back to the Goddess Clan. I just don't think that. I don't think he's going to go back to the Demon Clan. I don't think he's going to go back to the Goddess Clan because of his emotions and how he's the biggest victim in the Holy War that happened 3,000 years ago. So, yeah, his emotions are still there. They're not gone, like, in terms of what has happened. So I'm curious on where Nakaba is going to take that in the upcoming chapters. Now, here's another thing to mention. Now, with the reveal of Estarossa being Mel, what's going on with Escanor? Now, that was not actually explained whatsoever in this chapter. That still needs to be explained. We do know that Escanor, he has the grace, which is sunshine, within his body. Now, as he has stated, he's had this since he can remember, since he was very little and young. Now, for all we know, Rosa could have potentially been the one to give him sunshine. We have no idea. But we do know from Escanor's perspective, and we know for a fact he's probably not lying, he's had the grace since he was a kid, since he could, actually first walk or whatever. So the question is, how did he get the grace? I mean, from all we know, he's a normal human. And we already have seen signs that his body is breaking down. So, how does he have a grace, and how did he get it in the first place, and why did, Mel lose his grace? Now, that one's kind of easier to explain, I think. I think the reason how Mel could have potentially have lost his grace, or, sunshine, was thanks to him gaining a commandment from the Demon King. Think about it like this. Thanks to him having a grace, him being a Goddess Clan, and then having forcefully put inside of him a commandment, most likely shoved out the grace from his body, and that is why, he no longer had it. That would explain a lot. And that, as we know, the grace, leaving him and him gaining a commandment is what caused him to have demonic powers. So, that's easy to explain. That's not something that, is kind of hard to understand. The big point, though, is how did Escanor receive it after 3,000 years? Was this something that was passed down continuously, or did just Escanor get lucky and get it? I'm just very curious on that. But at the same time, we do know that the graces most likely can be given up in some shape or form, but they're not easy. Most likely in the same way as how, commandments are done. You have to kill an individual to probably get your grace back. Because, I mean, think about the commandments. You have to kill another person with a commandment to be able to get, the commandment. And so most likely, if Mel wants to get the commandment back, or, the grace, he needs to kill someone. So, most likely, Escanor is about to become a big target for Mel to get back his grace. Now, we know for a fact that if someone was possessing Escanor, he would also have a grace, or, you have fragments of the ability, which that still could potentially be a thing. Remember, that was mentioned a couple of chapters back. So, for all we know, Escanor might not even have the grace. He might just have, fragments of the original grace, and we haven't even really seen the full extent of what it's capable of, and it's somewhere else out there that we have no idea where it's at. But whatever the case may be, though, it's very obvious that what Nakaba-sensei is doing right now with Escanor and Mel, he's setting up for a rematch. Like, he's setting up for a Mel versus Escanor fight. They're about to go at each other, and Mel wants to get back his grace. That's what I see going down now, because when you think about it, Mel still has 3 commandments within him. He still has not lost that, okay? Just FYI, if you have not been paying attention, those are not gone yet. Even though he reawakened as Mel, it does not mean that he doesn't have those commandments. So, he's going to be going up against probably Escanor to get his grace back. So, we're going to have, like, Estarossa versus Escanor round 2, or Mel versus Escanor round 1. So, I'm excited about that. I really am. But, this might be the point to where Escanor could potentially lose. Because, I mean, it's bound to happen one day. We're fully aware of this, and I guess the best way for Escanor to lose would be from the original owner of the grace, Sunshine. I think that would be the best way for Escanor to finally fall and lose a fight. But that's about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this week's chapter of Taizai. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below. And I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.